This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Mountain Glass Arts. For the month of April 2016, Mountain Glass is offering 25% off AccuGrind joints. Just put in the code AccuGrind, that's ACCUGRIND, at checkout. And for all you soft glass nerds, they're offering their COE 104 sale on mandrels and bead release. You can get it for 20% off. Just put in the code BEAD, that's BEAD, at checkout. For any further questions or comments, contact mountainglass.com, that's mountainglass.com. This episode is also brought to you by C-Cube Co. C-Cube now creates a wide range of specialty and one-of-a-kind artistic glassware, items such as hand-blown wine crafts, insulated coffee mugs, pint glasses, and custom piggy banks that you can have personalized with imprinting, logos, and color accents that are available. Just go to C-Cube Co., that's SEACUBECO.com for more information. That's ccubeco.com. This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard. Whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast, we have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show. You're listening to the Wise Guy Radio Show. Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 102. This is Jay Michael, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in today. With 17 years of experience behind the torch, I am as excited as always to bring you conversations with artists, sharing their stories in hopes to inspire and entertain while helping you grow your business. And today is no exception. Today we are continuing our series on So You Want to Be a Glassblower, and today we are talking about adversity, one of the main emotional sides, topical type of conversations we have when it comes to being a glass artist. And this also can carry on into life as well, which I think is why the glass artist, in a sense, once they can figure all this stuff out, almost as if you're figuring out the secrets to life. But before we get into that, I wanted to make a quick correction. I want to give also a big thank you to Chris Bock of C-Cube Co. He reached out to let me know that I made a major mistake last episode 101 relating to the 5 reasons why you should take a class. And it sounds like I need to take a class myself. In reference to the tubing size that I was talking about, that I was driving and I wasn't paying attention to what I was saying. When you're referring to the tube size, I actually said that the inside diameter is what the size of the tubing is, which is completely wrong, and I should know better. He let me know, though, that quartz glass, however, at times is measured that way by the inside diameter. But when it comes to borosilicate glass, and I believe also soft glass tubing that exists out there, the diameter that you get if you were saying you're buying 1 inch, say medium wall, the 1 inch refers to the outside diameter, so your outside edge is going to be 25.4 millimeters. And then you have your wall thickness, which for medium wall is typically like a 2.7 mil wall. And then you have your inside diameter. So when it goes to talking about, again, about size of tubing, it is based on the outside diameter. So I want to make sure I had that correction out there. Slightly embarrassing on my point. But also gives me a reminder that if anybody ever has any questions, if you're listening to the show and you hear something I say that is wrong or you don't agree with, please reach out to me. You can hit me up at info@wiseguyradio.com. And I am all about hearing what you have to say, whether it's a critique or a correction, because I want to make sure that everything that I'm passing on to you all is fact and not just me bullshitting. Everything I do is either from experience that I talk about and also from research that I've been doing. And again, I just want to make sure that my facts are correct. And thank you again to Chris for reaching out to me and letting me know that I was a dumbass and made a wrong reference. So again, tubing, when you're buying tubing, the reference size is based on the outside diameter. Outside diameter plus the wall thickness equals nothing. Just whatever the size, medium, heavy, whatever. So anyways, I'm rambling on there about that. So again, thank you, Chris, for that correction. And so there you guys go. So again, we're talking about adversity today, adversity and regarding to obstacles and hurdles, whether it is with your glass or in your head. But there's lots of ways and reasons why if you cannot deal with adversity, then being a glass artist is probably not for you. So before we get into that, I just want to make sure you all have, if you have not yet subscribed to the Flow magazine, the spring edition is out. They are getting into nature talk and different shows that were out over the last thing. This is the nature issue. They have lots of different tutorials. It's the 2016 Nature Gallery. Also talking about the Burns Gallery Pipe Classic 10 coming up. A lot of different stories and fun topics. So that's a quarterly magazine. 3 times a year, 4 times a year they come out, and one of their issues is dedicated to the women in the art, which I think is fantastic. So if you guys have not yet gone to the Flow magazine and subscribed, go to theflowmagazine.com and subscribe to their magazine. It's been around for 15 years now, and for myself personally, and I know for a lot of other glass artists, it is a great reference guide with tutorials, fun stories, and just an overall great read. So theflowmagazine.com, go check them out and subscribe today. And now it is time for us to get into our talk about adversity as a glass artist. Woohoo! Right, thanks for hanging out. So now we're going to get into our topic conversation today, which goes along with our series all about So You Want to Be a Glassblower. And the topics of conversation I am going over with this particular series is just going over areas for those who have never been involved in glassblowing or as an artist or are thinking about it or just getting started or even been in this for a long time. You know, it's all topical for everybody, but really specifically is geared towards those that are new or also looking at getting into this. Because as those of us who have been in this for a while, or even just over a short period of time, all realize that being a glass artist, especially a full-time professional glass artist, is probably one of the most difficult careers to get started and into. And one of the main topics I find that makes this partially the most difficult is the topic of adversity and overcoming obstacles and the frustration of being a glass artist. And as you get through the process of learning your techniques and learning the materials and learning, how to create certain items, you're going to stumble and fall and burn yourself and cut yourself. And if you cannot deal with those particular issues, then this is definitely not for you. A lot of times I like when I talk to kids about being a glass artist and just the art in general of being a glass artist. A lot of times they will see just what is on the shelf. They don't actually see the process of going into the creation side of things. Very much like when you are watching, say, a BMXer or an extreme, sport athlete, or even just a high-class athlete in general in any sports. We haven't gone through the process of watching their practice and their repetition of doing the same trick or the same swing or whatever over and over and over and over again. We all watched Tony Hawk, I remember as a younger adult, pulling off a 900. And it took him like 5 or 6 times just on TV that one particular time to finally pull it off. But before that, he had been skating for 20 plus years and also had been trying to pull that trick off, I'm sure, hundreds of times. But he had to start off by doing a 180, and then a 360, and then a 720, and then eventually get into the 900. And glass art is very much the same. When you get started, the first thing you should really do, you learn your material, but you should learn your tools and your equipment first. I always preach that once you learn your torch, it's very similar to using a flathead screwdriver. Just about anybody knows how to use a screwdriver, but right away it's not an easy tool to use necessarily. But again, you do it a couple times and you get it down. Your torch is very much the same. Once you can figure out your torch, you find what flame settings you like, which is your flame settings, not anybody else's, what you like and what works for you. Then you can go from there and begin melting glass and then making blobs and shapes, and eventually you'll have a fish or a flower or whatever. But it takes the process to really first learn your tools. So once you get your tools down, then you get into the creation process. And in the creation process, this is when you begin to deal with the glass and deal with the cuts and the burns and the issues that you start going through. And really, this gets into the point to where you have to learn to stop, take a deep breath, and then go back and follow through. So when you're in the middle of making a piece, whatever it is you're making a piece, sculpture, some kind of production type of thing, one of the worst things you can do to start off with is start telling yourself, oh, I can make this much money for this piece, or this is going to sell for this much. Or the fact that maybe you have a bill that's due and you're stressing and you're trying to make sure you get your product made so you can sell it to then get the money to pay your bills. So those kind of mental spaces are not really good places to be in. When you're in the creation process or even just in the learning process, you really need to be in the moment of that space. You need to be really focused on the material, what it is you're making, and really focus on the process, and then also gaining the muscle memory. Because as we all know, through repetition, we gain muscle memory. And as we go through this process of muscle memory, we're going to stumble and fall, and the whole 1 step forward, 2 steps back, which is why a lot of us out there preach that once you start to make one item, you should make it 100 times, because it takes roughly 85-ish times for your body to really gain the muscle memory. Because you'll do it 3 or 4 or 5 times and it looks great, and then like the 6th or 7th time you do it, it looks like shit. And you're like, what the hell is going on? The first couple times were awesome. So then you stumble backwards, and then it looks like shit, and then you keep moving forward if you have the mental space to move forward. And by about the 10th or 11th time of doing it, it looks good again. And then you get to about the 15th or 16th or 17th time, and it starts to look like shit again. And then you start questioning, what are you doing wrong? And then you can figure out what it is you're doing wrong again, and then you fine-tune what it is you're doing, and then you start making it look good again. And you do this process over and over and over and over. And I'm not saying do this all in one day, but if you do it over a couple days or a week period of time, you will really fine-tune your technique and also gain the muscle memory needed to properly follow through and make this technique work for you. And if you start off with a strong foundation, these little techniques that you learn will build upon each other, which then eventually, when you get to the process of creating larger artwork or just creating things that you want to make, just period, like you come up with an idea and like, oh, how do I make this? You'll have the skills, the fundamental skills already there to do it. But again, it takes getting through the frustrations and the cuts and the burns of learning the foundational techniques to get to the point to where you can create whatever it is you want to create. And when you're going through the process, even at that point in time, it becomes even more frustrating. So let's back up a little bit. So you've learned how to make a ball of glass. You learned how to make a perfectly round shape, round marble. And then you want to take that marble and say, oh, wow, now let me take this marble and maybe I'm going to make a little small teddy bear. Now, going through the process of making a small bear, there takes, some sculptural techniques that you got to learn. You got to learn how to attach arms and legs, how to maybe create them first and then attach them, or maybe how to just heat the glass up and attach the hot glass to the body of the little teddy bear you're making, and then learn how to manipulate the glass to shape out the arms and legs. Like, there's different ways of going about it, but the point is when you get from the very beginning concepts and foundations of learning the basic techniques to when you start actually building those upon each other, it's going to take time to learn how to then actually take those and use those techniques in application process of creating items. And when you get to that point where you begin to learn the process, it becomes even more frustrating because in your head, you know that you know these little basic foundational techniques. You know how to ball up the glass. Maybe you know how to add glass from one rod onto a mass that you've already created to then extend out and pull and stretch and make arms and legs or fins on a fish, that kind of stuff. But then as you're going through the process and say you're almost done with this little teddy bear you're making, you're adding little details to it, and all of a sudden it cracks. And you're like, what the hell? Why did it crack? And then you have to stop and look at whatever it is you're making and study it. Figure it out. Why did it crack? Was your puntee not attached cleanly? Was there a weird edge? Any kind of deviations, any grooves, any hard angles in your glass? There's a lot of different variations involved in why glass cracks. You maybe lose your heat base, or you were working on one section, let's say the top of your bear's head, and then the area at the butt, at the bottom of your bear, for instance, where your puntee was attached, that got cold, and then all of a sudden you went back down to that spot to hit it with your flame, and your puntee cracks, or the whole thing cracks, or you just kind of do like a flash with your flame and the surface of the glass that's cold, spider webs on the surface, like little spider web cracks. All those little things happen through this process of learning, and you have to stop and look and then think about why they happened. I know in the past there was times when I was first learning the pipe process, when especially learning the inside-out process, and there were all kind of times where the glass would crack on me, or the item I was making would break a week or so down the road. It would crack. And I get so damn frustrated because I would get a phone call from a shop that was like, hey man, we just almost sold this pipe and we noticed there was a crack in it. And when you sell it to the shop, for instance, it didn't have a crack. But down the road, because glass is glass, it could potentially crack. So you have to understand why that did it. And so what I would do is I would get the piece home, I would replace it with a new one, or if it was already home and it cracked, I would then try and break it even more so, actually crack it in half if I could, and dissect it and look at why it cracked. Excuse me. Especially if it was inside outs or just things like that. You can look at the inside of the wall of the piece and see if all your colors blended in smoothly. Maybe you had a weird little deviation where it wasn't completely blended in smooth, so it left like a small air pocket or a hard angle or something like that, or an acute angle. Just different little small things like that. Sometimes a tiniest little air bubble can get trapped. That can cause issues. But all these little ideas and concepts and issues that you run into, you have to be able to get past and learn from those mistakes. And if you can do that, then you'll be successful. And it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of years. But you can also take these same lessons and take them into life. And understanding that you come up to a roadblock in life, and instead of getting frustrated and saying, fuck it, I'm not moving anywhere else, I'm not going forward with it, you kick it in the nuts and you move forward and you figure out, how can I overcome that obstacle? Or how can I not do what I did before that, came to that obstacle, that mistake I made, and change it and then learn from it. And glass is the same way. Thinking about the whole concept of your glass has to be on center. If you're wanting to make a foot for a wine glass or a goblet, and you're using centrifugal force to flare that foot out, it has to be perfectly on center. The glass has to be the right consistency. The opening of the lip has to be even all around. Everything has to be perfect before you can get it hot and then spin it and flare it open to make a perfectly round, flat foot. And life is a very similar way. If you're not on center, if you have any things that are off a little bit, life can be kind of crazy. And think about those same kind of concepts with glass. But understanding, again, what the potential issue was from the beginning that you can change and make different to then become successful at that point in time. So think about the hurdles you're going through, and think about when you get frustrated, you're in there and you're working on something, and say sometimes, like myself even, I have whole days where I'm just not in the mood to be there, and I'm there anyways because I have to be, and shit just breaks. My mind is somewhere else. I'm not focused on what I'm doing. I'm not paying attention. And I'm spending hours on things that are just breaking, and I'm wasting my time, I feel. And those kind of days, sometimes, you just got to walk away. Oh, excuse me. Apologize for the yawn. Sometimes you just got to walk away, either go for a walk, maybe go get a cup of coffee, maybe go to the park and get some fresh air, or maybe just take the day off. Sometimes you got to just take the day off. But you have to understand that you cannot just stand there and get pissed off and say, fuck it, and then just keep on getting pissed off and keep on getting more pissed off and more shit's breaking, because that is a vicious cycle you'll get into. And then that can lead into more frustration, which can then potentially cause you just to quit. So a lot of times, because a lot of us that get into glass, we get into the glass as artists, but we also get into the glass because of the fascination of the material itself. And there's a lot of science involved in it. So there's a lot of things that you get into with the glass that you really are intriguing to you. And I'm sure, as a lot of you like myself, with our personalities, you feel it's something that once you learn your foundation, that it's something that you can do. And you know you can do it. And you get frustrated because you get to a point to where the glass is not letting you do what you feel you need to do. And a lot of that, again, is because you have to be in the moment. You have to be, in a sense, one with the glass. The glass is going to do what it's going to do. You can make the same item 4 times in a row, and from A to Z, that process, maybe the steps are all very much the same, but the process of actually using those steps are going to be completely different each time. But you got to know what the steps are. But they're going to be different a little bit each time. The technique, maybe something doesn't go quite right, you got to fix it, or the glass is flowing weird. There's all kind of different little variations that come into this process. So just things to think about. If you get frustrated and pissed off in the studio, take a deep breath, walk away, go stretch, get a glass of water, go walk around the outside, maybe call somebody, maybe blow off some steam, maybe go outside and do some jumping jacks or jump rope or push-ups and that kind of shit. I know that myself lately because I'm in my new lifestyle fitness routine, changing of what I'm doing and my mindset and my physical, ideas too about myself. When I get frustrated or have to do something like that and blow some steam off, I'll go outside and just go do some jump roping. And it really makes a huge difference. So just think about that kind of stuff. But think about when you do get frustrated, I'm telling you right now that you're going to get frustrated. You're going to get pissed off. You're going to cut yourself. You're going to burn yourself. You may be broke and don't have any money and you're hungry and you got to make something and you got to go sell it and it's not going to be able to be sold because halfway through it cracked. And now you're even more pissed off and even more frustrated and even more hungry. And if you can get past all of these frustrations and sacrifices you make now, 5-10 years down the road, you will be successful. It's just about learning what you did wrong, changing those mistakes, and then moving forward with a better habit, a better technique, trying something differently, and just whatever you learned, put it into action. So important. So it's kind of all over the place. Just wanted to share this thought with you guys. As this series moves forward, it's going to be going to be covering more of the topics of mental space, because glass is not just about being a physical artist or being a cool guy, Joe Blow, because you're a glass blower. A lot of it is mental space. A lot of it is what's your focus. Where are you at mentally? Did you just leave your house and you had a fight with your significant other? And then you go into your studio with that bad mojo or that bad energy or being pissed off and you try to go make some glass art and it just doesn't work because your negative energy or your frustration that you're going through then goes into your glass. It's all relational. So before you get started on your day, maybe do a quick stretch, do a little quick meditation. Maybe you have a little mantra that you talk to yourself about or you say, like, today's going to be a good day, I'm going to get past my frustration, any roadblocks I come across, I will take them head on and move past it and get past it. There's just different things you can do to help yourself be focused and in the moment. And sometimes throwing in some headphones, maybe listening to this show, or listening to some music, or just something else to help you, distract you from your outside environment and help you to focus and be in the moment. So, hope this helps you guys. Just wanted to cover the topic of the adversity, because, again, those that are successful are the ones that can get past the roadblocks and continue to move forward, learning from the mistakes you made, whether in life or in your art. So I hope this helps you guys. Much love. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 102 of the Wise Guy Radio Show, and we will see you next week. Happy melting, and I love you guys. Please, again, any comments, critiques, info you want, anything, please contact me, info@wiseguyradio.com. That's info@wiseguyradio.com. Wise Guy Media website's coming up and looking good. Slowly but surely we're getting together. My web guy and I are back on board. He has now got his life together and straightened out and focused, and so him and I are moving forward with stuff. So things are going to grow a little faster now in the digital space, so I can't wait for that. Whether you go to Wise Guy Media or wiseguyradio.com, they both will take you to the Wise Guy Media site right now. So anyways, want to let you guys know about that. Love y'all. Take it easy. Happy melting. Get focused. Learn how to say yes and no. And take deep breaths when you get frustrated. Go for walks, do push-ups, jumping jacks, whatever you got to do. Make yourself feel better. Sometimes maybe just walk away and go home and sit back and relax. Take a deep breath. Read some books. All right. Love you guys. Take it easy. Peace. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.